let's have a look at the Open Champion swing, Xander Schauffele. It's a great swing, technically very, very sound. He's made a few changes in 2024 just to help him win 2 majors. So let's break it down. So we've got the left-hand side, we have down the line, and on the right we have face on. Now I want you to have a look at Xander's little trigger move in his takeaway. So watch his thumbs on the grip. Can you see that little double tap with that right thumb? You'll see a lot of great players just have the little trigger move that just help him start the takeaway. So if we have a look from setup, if we look at face on, very, very good setup here. You'll notice, as a lot of guys do, they flare the feet out subtly around 15 degrees. Just got pretty neutral grip there, nothing major going on. And then if we look from down the line, you'll see that, let's just bring him to that takeaway point. Lovely, lovely spine angle, pretty much nice and flat there. He's got a little bit of knee bend, and his arms are directly hanging below his shoulders. Great, great setup there. So if we take him into takeaway, let's see how he does that. So he's got his little trigger move, and then you'll see, look at that little bit of leg action there. Watch around that trail knee. Watch how those legs just start to move. It just creates a little bit of momentum. He's almost opening the hips up. It's a similar move to actually Rory here. It almost opens them up before he rotates. Let's have a look from face on. See if we can see that move there. He's got a little trigger move, and then you'll see, can you see in his hips how he has this little athletic sort of bump? It just really helps load the tissues there. Let's get rid of that, and then put your traditional lines on the hips there, and we'll put a little circle around his head so you can see what he's actually doing in this takeaway. So let's take him back. You'll see that little bump. See how he moves slightly to the right hand side there, head staying nice and still, and then boom, lovely, lovely takeaway position there. You'll see how the head's slightly rotated. Let's see from down the line, and you can see here what a fantastic position that is. You can see there's a little bit of rotation through the hips and the torso there. You'll see from down the line how you can see those buttons on his shirt, just illustrating that rotation. Now Xander keeps his arms really nice and straight on this takeaway. You'd see a lot of guys having more bend in this trail elbow. Xander doesn't do that so much. And if we look at the takeaway position in terms of the club, that club is slightly outside his hands here. That shaft is pretty much, the club face is pretty much parallel to his back line there. And what you'll notice is Xander does a great job. I talk about this a lot, about how guys take the hands away in this little sort of alleyway. Watch how those hands pretty much stay in that little alleyway there. There's not a lot of moving parts to the golf swing. I absolutely love it. And look at the width there, loads of width. Not a huge amount of wrist set. Like I say, unusual in how straight that right arm is, which helps him at the top of his swing. You'll see how wide he gets. But let's take it away a little bit further. You'll start to see now his wrists start to set a little bit, and that trail arm starts to fold. You'll see how he starts to work a little bit more down in to the ground here, just loading that trail side. Let's have a look from face on. You'll see wrists just start to set subtly there. Look how straight that right arm is. Very, very unusual. Not a lot of guys that have the flexibility there to do that. And you'll also see, look, he's not rotated his hips a great deal. They have rotated, but tremendous amount of rotation through the thorax. So he's creating loads of coil here. Let's build him up to this position here. So the wrists have got a subtle amount of wrist set, not a huge amount, but that's going to help him in the downswing, just load those wrist muscles, which help him absolutely bomb it. You'll notice how that trail elbow is higher than that left elbow, which help him get in that really nice high position at the top of the swing. And then let's just bring him back to this top of the backswing position. You'll notice how Xander's got quite sort of two-piece, probably you'd call it in traditional terms, but quite an upright swing, loads and loads of width. You'll start to see from face on, it's only really lead on parallel where he starts now to bend that trail arm, and we'll take him to the top, and you can see there what a fantastic position. His hips have stayed really stable, not a great deal of rotation. You can see from here he's got that little tilt in those hips. He's worked a lot on the shoulder plane, so Xander's got traditionally quite a shallow shoulder plane, which can get him into all sorts of issues, so he's worked on steepening that. You'll see how those hands are nice and high. Some guys like Rory will be a little bit more here. That height helps him with his speed, and it just is fantastic position. You'll notice Xander has a lot of flexion in that lead wrist, so it's very reminiscent of like Morikawa, Brooks or DJ, where they do have that bowed position at the top of the backswing. Now you'll notice he's pretty stacked with his torso here. There's not a huge amount of shift to that right side. You can see how he stays pretty stable. You'll see here in this takeaway how he starts to load down, that head moves down. But look at that top of the backswing position. Look at all that width he's got from his hands there. Keeps it nice and short of parallel. And then for me, this is where the magic happens for Xander. Now, I just want to play it through in full speed so you can just see. Just watch out at the top of his backswing. He's got that little sort of very, very subtle pause at the top. Now, there you go. You can just about see it. It's very, very subtle, but it just allows him to really develop some really nice timing and tempo. Now, what Xander does is, this is the magic of his swing for me, that transition move. So let's just break it down in more detail. So you can see from face on, watch that lead hip here. Watch how it moves to the left and then moves down really nicely. Can you see that? So he's really moving. It moves down more, I'd say, than lateral initially. So you can really see how that lead hip really drops down and he shifts into that left leg there. You can really see how he's loading the ground. Now what I want you to look at his upper body. Look how he's not really done anything there. It's just that shift that's bringing those hands down. Now if we look from face on, down the line, what you see is that move down and to the left. Look at what happens with that shaft and those hands there. You'll see how that lead wrist starts to move more into flexion here. So if we bring him here, you'll see how the angle's going to increase slightly as he works his way down. That's going to help shallow that club head out. You'll start to see how he's regained some flexion in that trail knee there. Boom. And you can see there, if we bring him from face on, look at that athleticism there. Now you'll notice that he doesn't have a great deal of wrist set like a lot of people. Now a lot of people might be more here with the angle between that shaft and those wrists, but Xander just keeps it there nice and wide. But then as he moves a couple of frames down, you can really see he's maintaining that angle through the golf swing. Now you'll see here how his right knee starts to kick in. A lot of great players will keep that trail elbow below the lead elbow, which he does there. You can see from down the line, just look at that stretch through the torso here. That's what creates all that power for Xander. So let's bring him down a couple more frames. You can see here, just look at that position. His hands are nicely in front of his body. That shaft is nicely shallowed. It's not too shallow, it's not too steep. Just really nicely shallowed here. And then from here, what he's done is, I mean, that's just an incredible position there. This is what most people can't achieve, is look how much now those hips have rotated and look at where that torso is pointed. That's the magic for me of Xander's swing, and it happens in transition. So what's happened is he's really loaded down through those hips, down, and then just everything sort of stays back here with the shoulders, but then the hips have really, really rotated. So it's creating a tremendous amount of stretching through the torso, specifically around this lead shoulder, which allows almost like a slingshot for that club to whip through. And that's why he's able to generate so much power. So let's bring him a few more frames down. Look at that, just great position. That elbow is nicely pretty much below that right shoulder. That shaft is pretty much right between those forearms. His right elbow's below his left, just textbook there. And you can see how much his hips have rotated. That knee's really kicked inwards, but his torso, even there, is still facing pretty much at the ball. So let's bring him a few more frames. Look at that. Look how he's almost increased that angle from the top of the backswing there. You can see how he's really loaded those wrists there. Again, that helps create lots of power. You can see how much that trail knee's moved towards the left and how much he's actually rotated through here. He's maintained that angle beautifully. Let's bring him down to pre-impact position here. Let's get him down. You'll see from down the line, now this shaft is a little bit outside the hands here. He's definitely hitting a fade in this down the line version, but you can see, look how you can see his butt cheeks. Just shows you how much rotation he has there. That elbow is nice and tucked in. I'd probably say he'd probably like it a little bit more directly under his right elbow, but does a great job there. And then let's have a look down at face on. You'll see, look at that, very good position there. Look how he's maintained that angle between the club shaft and the wrist. Look how much he's driven that right knee towards his left. Almost a bit of an old school move there. You don't see guys driving that knee as much as that there. You can see how he started to come up on that lateral border of the lead foot here. Let's bring him down. Oh, look at that impact position. His head stayed nicely behind the ball here. Loads of shaft lean, which is helped by that flex position at the top of his swing. Look how much that right knee has moved towards the left. Just love that position. Look how that right foot's up in the air. You can see from down the line, look how his shoulders are pretty much parallel to the target, whereas his hips have really rotated. Now his torso is going to be massively open here, as you can see here. Look where the buttons point on his shirt, but the shoulders are almost parallel to the target there. Just love that position, and then everything else is just a byproduct here. I think this is such a good swing. It wouldn't surprise me if he wins lots more majors. You'll see here, if we bring him to this release position, slightly different shots he's hitting, admittedly, on the different screens, but you can see there how, look how that right knee is pretty much kissing that left knee there. Loads of extension through the arms, nice and straight. His head started to release ever so slightly. We don't want to keep that head down. And then let's see, bring him through. Like I say, he's swinging a little bit more left here to hit the cut on the left hand side of the screen. You'll see now he starts to really release that head. Look how those arms really extend through. You can see how that head started to come up, and look at that width there. Look how far his hands are from his head. I love Xander's sort of, he's got this really like curtailed follow through where it's just looks long and flowing. Look at that. It's very much an old school move in a lot of senses. Look how he's really sort of, reminds me a bit of Nicholas or Tiger in like 2005, where he had that really wide follow through and then just lets his arms nice and relax through. You'll see if we bring him, you can see how he's just cut it off on the down the line because he is hitting a little cut, but you'll see this is more his traditional follow through. Look how he's on that heel of the left foot. He's pretty much straight up and down with his body. His chest is facing the target, or a little bit left, belt buckle's facing the target, and just a lovely golf swing. For me, This is one of the best golf swings on tour, and for me, the real key with Xander is two things. One, his top of the backswing position and little pause with that wrist, and then two, the transition, which just helps him create so much speed and power.